It's a very balmy but tolerable 81 degrees in the house today. Saturday, June 28th, 2025. I did turn off the fan to record the video. When I'm done, I'll turn it back on because it does help to have some air moving around. Today is about the kitchen floor, and it will be done today because it's only 5:30ish right now, and I only have a tiny little piece left. So the floor itself, I kind of had the idea, the general color and style that I wanted, but I didn't buy anything until I went to the auction, the Boswell auction online, and saw that they had 9 boxes of this stuff for a pretty decent price. So I went ahead and bought those. I think it was like 120 bucks for 9 boxes. And I did some numbers to try and see if it would come out to be about the right amount. And I knew it was close. I knew it was really close. I did end up having to buy, I bought 2 boxes, I only needed 1. So I've got 1 box to take back. I've got 3 full boards left here, a couple of partials, and all that's left to do is right here. So I'm going to use one of those 3, and then the rest of that little spot, I have enough right here of partials to finish up. So I'll keep the other two full planks for spares just in case. This is the hardest one to put in, is the one that I have to do next right here, just in terms of what's actually going to be able to be, over the board. I have these cut up above the floor to where that board will fit underneath, but by the time I come in and rock the board down into this locking groove, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to have it that long. So we'll see what I can do. I know I can get it underneath these, which will be the main one I try to do, and then over here we'll see what happens. And then this is a piece of cake to finish back to that wall. So the hardest one's right here. Just finished the threshold going to the basement with a with the stair nosing piece as well. So that's done. Finished look. Same thing over here. Cut these up above so that these planks can go under, and that helps hold this floor down. I'll get this light turned off here. Okay. And then the sides, the way that you do the floating floor is you leave this gap, and then you fill the gap with this, with the foam. And then you're also supposed to put the silicone layer down to completely seal it all the way off. I don't know if I'm gonna do that for sure, but your baseboard trim will then go down to the top of that floor level and clean everything up really nice. So that's kind of next, is the trim work in here. A couple things I wanted to point out about the layout. To determine my starting board width, this number right here, I took this full measurement and tried to make it an even, to where I don't have a really narrow board or a really wide board blocking that out. So I started with that. As you can see, these aren't exactly the same. This one's a little wider. So the determining factor that I ended up going with was this walkway right here, and I wanted this to have a center line that went to even widths on either side. So this number, about 6 inches, matches this number over here, and then it's 1, 2, 3 and a half, 1, 2, 3 and a half. So this is the center line right down the middle. That adjusted everything towards the door a little bit, but not enough to change from my centerline plan. And then the 2 things that I didn't plan but ended up working out really nice was the layout landing perfectly on my baseboard grate. So I have the door trim coming in on this side, and then that goes back to the corner. This ended up lining up perfectly with 2 planks, so I'm really happy about that. And then on my transition into the dining room, I didn't even notice this before, but the oak planks in here, it's actually 4 oak planks is the same width as one of the floating floor. And it just so happens that these seams line up almost perfectly as well. I think you see it a little better from this side. Yeah, didn't plan that out at all, so that worked out great. Finish up the perimeters here, and that'll be the floor. And it's done. So, I ended up doing a 2-piece approach. This piece went in first, and it came straight in from the back, so it was able to go underneath both sides. The way that this locks in, if you do it this way, you're supposed to start it at an angle and then roll it down. If you do it this way, you have to slam it into the groove, and I think it probably destroys the little bit of the lock that is supposed to hold it in. I haven't ever taken one back out to check. But I mean, it holds. It's also being held down on both sides, and it'll be held forward from the back. So I'll just have to keep an eye on this spot right here. And then this piece, very similar idea. Since I had the joint right here, it didn't have to go around the corner at all. I was able to make it exactly the right width, and I rolled it in from this side first, set it down, and then brought it back and over and locked both of those joints in. Ended up with a little gap here, but this gets a piece of trim across the bottom. Same thing, wrap around all 3 sides of that little cubby, and then all of the cabinet base gets a little base shoe piece. So gaps along there won't be an issue. Really, it's just a matter of doing the base trim now, which the original trim pieces that came out of the kitchen are not in great shape. I did manage to get the paint off of 3 of these pieces. It's a very painstaking process with a heat gun, and these still need treated before they get repainted. So I'm not thrilled about doing that for the whole kitchen. I do want to save this trim and use it somewhere else because it is beautiful base shoe. They're not made this tall anymore. You'd have to start with like a 1x8 and then modify it. So everything I can find that has a similar profile is only 4 inches tall. That's not going to cut it. So I think I'll just use some probably 1x8 for 2 reasons. One, I won't have to treat every single piece of trim that came out of here. 1.5, this long wall wasn't in the original kitchen, so I don't have a piece of trim to make from the original. And 2, there is actually quite a drop off to that corner. So yeah, you can kind of see it along the drywall joint right there. That is pretty steep drop off, and the plan is for this piece of trim to actually start with the cut width custom and then widen up to the full 1x8 on that end. Now, the question I haven't figured out the answer to yet is, what do I do when that trim has to get wrapped around the corner? So that'll be kind of an open-ended question until I get to that part of the living room, but I think that is the approach that makes the most sense. It'll be a little bit more of a simple style for the trim. I do have a couple of these that I'll put back on either side of the door there, so there will be a little bit of styled trim. Also the crown will be getting a little bit of attention. But as far as the rest of the base goes, it'll probably be that pretty simple right angle 1x4 or 1x8 edge, I guess. And I probably won't have the profile on there that was with the original trim, but that's okay. There's plenty of other places to look in this kitchen, and I don't think that trim will be too terribly missed. when things are all said and done. So, 4 project is done.